Good evening. The gang is here, minus one member. Joe Ageo is away on assignment this week. But what a week it has been. Our president is angry again, and he's off social media. But while doing that, he's been busy. He walked over for lunch with his deputy and has been hosting his neighbor. Plus, we'll also talk about what our proud moments as a country have been over the last week. But first, let's talk about our president, who was quite candid in choosing to do so in a faraway land. Listen to this.
I'm looking now. My brother Kinjuri has just opened his notepad to write what I'm saying. But he was not interested in writing what these Kenyans are saying. Monica, I will not say this again. We have agreed that we shall start country by country, registering our citizens in the diaspora. We heard it in France. We heard it in Dubai. Why should these people be made to pay money to fly to Kenya just to get a passport in order to get back to work? Yeah. What is difficult about having a team to organize that?
And our president was angry again. He's been angry like this before on home soil, but, much more candid. Francis, I'll start with you. In Namibia, he chooses to scold not one, but two CSs at once. What's happening? He's increasingly a very upset man.
Absolutely. And I think now it's more of a question of counting the number of times that he gets angry at his CSs. But while at it, very little happens to those CSs that he's angry with. By now, the CSs ought to have known what to do or what not to do when the boss is around. But also calls for a bit of interrogation on basic things. How do you attend a session where Kenyans in a foreign land are giving their experiences, their challenges, what they ought to see, what they need to see, and you're just looking at them? I thought some things are basic. Just carry a notebook and a pen or a notepad. Just take some notes. I think it's basic. And probably, once again, the president needs to stop scolding his CSAs in public and deal with them elsewhere. Because it gets to a point where if as a parent you keep shouting at your kids, wewe nitakuchapa, wewe nitakuchapa,
na umchapi,
they get to a point where nasema umzae anaongeanga tu.
Yeah,
so
okay.
maybe he needs to get to some point and stop scolding them in public.
All right.
I think it also doesn't. It initially it sounded like he's brave, he can take them on.
Right.
But increasingly it's becoming a question of
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting. Linus, you've covered presidents in the country and beyond. What do you make of the president and where he is? By the way, this did not happen so much in his first term.
Right.
Yeah.
Now look, first of all, to Mwangi Kiunjuri. Mwangi Kiunjuri has become the presidential punching bag.
Absolutely.
You know that red bag that boxers use in training gyms and all that? Every time President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to punch something, he punches Mwangi Kiunjuri.
Punch or pinch?
Punch. He actually punches. And look, presidents are human beings. They do have all manner of emotions. And you look at the American presidential history, because it's the richest in the world, and there are a lot of times that presidents lose their temper. They use their temper for certain things to achieve certain objectives. Some just to express frustration and to react to a situation. Of course, right now, if you want to know everything about Donald Trump's emotions, they are on the tweet. He tweets.
Yes.
Very angrily. Twitter handle.
A lot of the time. Yeah.
Very angrily all the time. But coming back here in Kenya, you look at the president's father, the founding father of this country, Jomo Kenyatta. He also had his moments of rage. In 1969, he went explosive against Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and called them Vinyangarika. You know, if you were not my friend, I was going to crush you, and things like that. Then comes Daniel Arap Moi. Moi's expression of anger was very well managed. he used it carefully. And he never mentioned his targets. He would talk in terms of third parties. He would say how or what to. You never know who that was. When we were covering Moi, we looked forward to the Presidential Press Service statement to give us the interpretation of what
he meant.
He meant.
But he also used to read the script and then he says, hayo ni yale nimeandikiwa. Sasa, and then he would go into Kiswahili.
Worse than that, because he even used to say, hayo mengine mtasoma kwa magazeti. And it is as if he'd meet us later to tell us,
this is what I meant. Yeah.
Now, the real meaning of President Moi's anger was interpreted to us by Lee Njiru, a very, very legendary Presidential Press Service person. He understood him, he knew what he was talking about. Moi never mentioned his target. Then you come to
Mwai Kibaki.
Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki's anger was more of a class contempt. You know, Mwai Kibaki is a black version of an aristocrat. This guy was very, very British, thoroughly British. He's our local
be stoic,
settler.
show no emotion.
Yes, show no emotion. Yes. And when you're insulting, be colorful like a rugby player. I mean, all his insults, we can't mention them on national television. But still, he never attacked his cabinet ministers.
Yeah.
Let's now come to Uhuru Kenyatta. What is he doing? Why the anger so many times, so repeatedly? Again, it's the same targets. My interpretation of what he was doing in Namibia, this was purely populist politics. He was trying to show the room that I'm the good guy, but I'm surrounded by people who can't do anything. They are failing me. It was actually very wrong of him to do that because it was more of inciting the crowd against the cabinet secretaries.
In that clip,
yes, in fact, that clip,
wasn't there that lady who was
really cheering?
Yeah, they were cheering. Yeah. They are saying, no, you are the good guy, but you have cabinet secretaries who are not functioning. Politically, that is not nice. Only that he's lucky serving in a different time where cabinet secretaries
are not
really have
MPs,
nothing else. They owe everything to the president.
Right.
The previous cabinets before 2010, before the 2010 constitution came in, these were solid political heavyweights.
Who had a constituency
equals, who had a constituency.
Elected,
You can't go attack them in a foreign country without consequences at home. But he can do anything and say anything about these cabinet secretaries because politically they don't carry that much weight like their predecessors. But essentially, he was inciting the crowd.
And Yvonne, speaking about, he was talking about very important issues when he was visibly insulting them, because he was talking about how Kenyans, of course, in Kenya and in other countries across the world, always have issues about delays in issuing of their passports and other vital documents
having
that they
to travel
need.
back home.
Having to travel back home to get that. And considering the fact that Kenyans, according to statistics, Kenyans in the diaspora sent back home over 267 billion shillings in 2018. So they're important. But now, what was interesting about this particular instance was that even that footage that we saw of the insult was not of the official footage that is supposed to be is supposed to have been given out by the Presidential Press Service Unit. This was someone's mobile phone that they recorded on their phones, and then some buzzed it, and we all got it. In fact, I think we did that story the second day, not the first day when it happened, because that's when we got it. It was from someone who was in there who was filming. This was not part of the official footage that had been sent.
And I'd like you to hold, because speaking of what was not official, because then we know what else was said there, and it came back and it was edited. Because he had a lot to say, not just about those cabinet secretaries who are there. He talked about the war on corruption and how he was going to fight that. So I want us to listen to that. The speech that shows the entire script, the account that was deleted, and then we can come back and talk about a lot that happened there, but never really made its way here.
I think we need to look at the full clip. I think the unedited one.
We have the unedited one, Let's take a look at that.
Kama unataka kuingiana na mambo ya ufisadi, tutapigana na wewe. You can be my brother, you can be my sister, you can be my closest political ally, you can be whatever you are, but you are an enemy of the Republic of Kenya, and we will fight with you.
So that is
The full clip, yes.
Now listen very keenly, because I want to play you what was edited out and sent to newsrooms. Listen.
Wewe kama unataka kuingiana na mambo ya ufisadi, yeah? Tutapigana na wewe. You can be my brother, you can be my sister, but you are an enemy of the Republic of Kenya, and we will fight with you. Sijui kama tunaelewana vile mimi nasema. Yes? Hiyo.
So it's a very small...
Yes.
I mean, in television, it's called a jump cut.
Jump cut,
yeah.
But it was only journalists who realized there was a bit of a...
Do you know what was interesting about that,
Yes.
Yvonne, was that early in the morning, I think it's around 6 a.m., the full script, the unedited, not video, script, was tweeted in the president's account on Twitter, like the full text of what he said.
It was even sent on email.
It wasn't sent on email to newsrooms, because we usually receive the footage, official footage from the
Together with the
president's
transcription of what he
the
said.
transcription and everything, using the for shared channel. So we received it with the text, with everything unedited. But then when the video was sent hours later, it was edited. That bit, I know you can tell, having been working in the media house, that something has been removed here.
Yeah.
Clearly, just going through it without even knowing what the original text had said. And you could clearly tell there was something missing. Now, when you start comparing with what was in the original, in the text and the video, like, why was this one removed? And then shortly after that, you hear the president's account has been suspended because it had been hacked.
And that then raised, a lot of questions about why that was edited. And I mean, so just talk to us about that from a communication standpoint, because the questions you would ask is, who deleted it? Why? Are there we've been talking about this, but clearly this was very open that there are rival camps, even within the president's communications unit.
Rivals on one hand, but also at the same time speaks of incompetence or some carefree way of handling the president's communication, so to say. Because how do you have the president tweeting a full script, a full tweet indicating word by word what he had said in a soundbite, and then you send us a soundbite that is edited? That instantly raises suspicion. Actually, were it not for those inconsistencies in terms of the tweet and the statement and the video, nobody would have noticed there was anything. And looks like an afterthought. An afterthought in the sense that after what the president said, maybe somebody whispered to him, hey, hapo umegonga mbaya. And that spirited attempt to say, okay, edit this video, and then probably somebody who was probably excited by that soundbite already tweeted whatever the president had said. So it was too late. And the moment you realize that a tweet has already gone out, a script has already gone out, and then you send a video that is edited, instantly it should tell you this is going to raise suspicion. So the best thing to do is release even the video, because you have already released the tweet. Send it out.
And then after that, his accounts were
still down.
What suspended?
Yes, and they talked about unauthorized
access. Yes, it had been hacked.
That was the biggest lie.
Yeah.
That was the biggest lie.
But
in the sense that
unauthorized access does not necessarily mean hacking. It could just mean that somebody who...
First of all,
the question is, Francis, unauthorized access
by whom?
And then what happened? Because two things happened. One, there was the editing of the soundbite of the president. What he had said was changed, and the words "closest political ally" were removed. Now, there's a lot of symbolism in what went on in those few moments. First of all, this is the closest the president has ever come to naming his deputy when it comes to the issue of corruption. But two, Ruto won this one hands down, because there was alteration and deleting of the accounts, because what this means is the president was backtracking on what he said, because it was causing friction. Let's not forget, this is a coalition government by any other name. This is a URP TNA coalition.
Right.
And when it actually comes to fighting, open warfare, like it nearly came that time, the message is these two sides cannot take each other lightly. You cannot take Deputy President William Ruto's ability to fight back lightly. I mean, there are those who will say he got the accounts deleted. He got the president to delete what he had said about closest political allies because people are interpreting it to mean William Ruto.
I think
you see, Linus, a few weeks before, there was this consistent narrative by members of parliament supporting Deputy President William Ruto that the fight against corruption has been weaponized to target him and scuttle his 2022 presidential bid. That was out there already. And at no point had the president
ever
spoken or linked in any way his deputy in this whole fight. So when you say even my closest political ally, that immediately sends a message out there. So I wouldn't be surprised from where I sit that as a result of the reactions that were coming from that tweet and the whole, the tweet and the alteration, you will get a statement like "Kata for 10 years of you to Sizitaki." I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, so
this is
what's happening. This is what's happening within the party. But then a salvo came from outside the party.
It happened on Sunday.
And it happened on Sunday. And that was the senior most ranking senator from ODM in the Senate, who made some remarks that then caused another furore. So this is Senator Orengo talking about the possibility of a deputy president being impeached or being removed.
The vice president of the republic can be removed from the office, the high office of the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, if it is found that he has violated the Constitution of Kenya or any other law. The Constitution also says that the vice president or the deputy president can be removed for gross misconduct.
And he went on to say about a threshold that it is lower than, in a criminal case. I mean, why does all of this matter, Linus? It seems like, political machinations, and this one saying this one saying that. But what's the bigger picture here? What should we glean from all of this that's happening now?
This is politics, plain, pure politics. And ODM is enjoying itself in the middle of the divisions within Jubilee. It's a very unaccountable space. It's such a free room to operate. Align yourself with one side, that of President Kenyatta, and create the other side. Fight William Ruto. Uhuru Kenyatta is serving his final term. No need to fight him. You're fighting the person who may still be relevant in future, and that is William Ruto. So the destruction of William Ruto is possibly, not possibly actually, is certainly an objective of ODM. If they can get him out of office, out of the way from 2022, that is politics.
And it's interesting because you talk about a space of unaccountability.
Yes.
But Jamila, we even ran this in our stories about just what it takes to impeach the deputy president, and this gross misconduct and what that means, what that threshold is.
In fact, for this to happen, to you to impeach sitting deputy president, remember this guy is elected. They came as a pair.
Package.
Yes, as a package. You cannot just say nimekufuta kazi. Things changed after the 2010 constitution. And now for this to happen, this impeachment motion has to originate in the National Assembly. Orengo is not a member of the National Assembly, he's a member of the Senate. So he has to find a member of parliament to bring this into parliament. But now, it has to have signatures of not less than a third of the entire membership of the National Assembly initially. So in a house of about 349, this should be, I think, 117 members of parliament. Now, for it to pass, now the second stage will require to be supported by 2/3 of all members of the National Assembly. 233 MPs. So ya kwanza, 117, 115 signatures. Then we come, 233 MPs. If it passes this now, that's when the Senate gets involved. And here you need almost all of them to actually support it. Two-thirds of the senators to support.
2/3 of 47.
Not what are the other 20.
Right.
The nominated ones, the 47 who have been elected from the 47 counties. 2/3 of them to support this for it to go through. And surely, I remember what Adan Duale was speaking, and I read it somewhere, that in fact there had been plans to sort of like disrupt the president's State of the Nation address next week because of this. After, of course, what he said, and then the impeachment motion issue comes out, and then now happened the lunch. I know we'll discuss the lunch at some point. Now that lunch diffused tensions a bit after they met, and of course we all saw the pictures. The president walked from, I think, KICC to the deputy president's office, and they had lunch, and we saw smiley faces. It diffused the tension. In fact, now there's no need to have a kamukunji or a parliamentary group meeting to rally the troops together. All is well in the land of Jubilee.
Two things.
Yes.
Number one, the possibility currently of impeaching the deputy president is almost nil. Truth be told, I mean, William Ruto controls quite a number of MPs in the House, both chambers of Parliament.
Right.
So even getting the threshold to impeach him, very difficult. Actually almost impossible. I mean, you'll hear quite a number of Jubilee MPs openly say they prefer him to the president because they say he's accessible, he listens to them,
also
and
because
so on and
he's
so
the
forth.
future. I mean, the president is now,
obviously,
his time is
and
done.
they're looking at him in terms of alignment and saying this is the guy maybe to align with. So it would be a little difficult to have him impeached.
Yeah,
but number two, as Lina says, this is a political game. What were the Jubilee MPs allied to the deputy president responding to? Was there even an impeachment motion? Even a draft stage? Is there? None exists. When Orengo came here for an interview with Hussein,
yes, because that's what I was going to ask you. He walked back some of his statements.
Had no motion. I did not even speak about a motion. I only pointed the members of parliament who are asking the deputy president to resign. I only pointed them to another route. The possibility of using the impeachment route to have him kicked out. So the response was
But then he even said,
nothing.
I was talking about, I didn't mean William Ruto, I meant a deputy president, the deputy president. It then became, a little vague and less categorical. But like you said, the MPs who are responding now to Orengo, was there a motion? Let's listen to them now. They were responding to Senator Orengo's statements.
Orengo's mouth. So the whole plan is from Raila.
The fight against corruption in this country is all a fraud. It's all a fraud that you target one person. They have seen it's not working. Now they want to come up with an impeachment motion. For our party Jubilee, Orengo anaongea akiwa ametumwa. Orengo anaongea kwa niaba ya Raila.
Look for the one who's wagging the dog. But then there was also an interesting walk back from Didmas, who said he wasn't threatening Raila.
First of all,
when he talked about going to heaven, he said
it's unfortunate.
He was leading Raila to salvation.
It's rather unfortunate that we are going back to the kind of sentiments and statements that used to be made by politicians that are very dangerous and that can easily whip political emotions. What Didmas said on that during that press conference is not good. I mean, you don't wish anybody death, even the person that you most disagree with.
But doesn't it remind you of the weka tire? Weka tire, then he said, niliposema weka tire, sikumaanisha weka tire, nilisema weka tire kwa gari isonge.
Oh, you remember the Waitito one in Embakasi, masaa hii? You remember that one? So it's unfortunate that people, when politicians make some of these statements, they think that the public does not think or does not understand what they are talking about.
But Linus, I'm sure you're about to say this is all.
Yes,
this is the season.
I totally reject any attempt to compare this current crop of politicians to any previous National Assembly.
Why is that?
Because of the quality. Didmas comes from which constituency again?
Kimilili.
Yes.
Kimilili.
Yeah.
You want to tell us that is the successor of Elijah Mangale?
Mohisa Kitui.
And Mohisa Kitui. Is that the quality of Member of Parliament for Kimilili? It's very sad. Ndindi Nyoro replaced, is actually successor to Kenneth Matiba. Kenneth Matiba. A lot has gone on in terms of just how low the quality of national discourse has become in the House, and that's why it shows even in the sentiments. Impeachment is a political weapon. It's used even as a nuisance value. You had the Democrats who know very well they don't even have numbers in the House, every time threatening to impeach Donald Trump. And the tone, of course, changed when some of the mature members of parliament then said, bring it on to this National Assembly. Because they know very well ODM is overstretching itself. It doesn't have the numbers, it doesn't have the political ability to impeach William Ruto. So why aren't we having that kind of mature conversation? We have Didmas instead talking about this.
If we now talk about the public anger, I don't know if I can call it anger. Maybe we expect people to go to the streets for us to realize they're angry. But in the past few days, the social media, Kenyans have been expressing their anger and their dissatisfaction with how things are run. In fact, one of the hashtags is dissolve the government, which trended quite a bit. And it puts into perspective the cloud of uncertainty facing probably the relationship between the president and the DP. Maybe before we had the lunch, that was right after the Twitter hula baloo, we call it brouhaha. Somebody said they should use the word brouhaha. The Twitter brouhaha, and then the deleting of the social media accounts and all that. And some of their anger comes across even when we had the drought and the hunger issues, and people are saying we cannot ignore, or when the Red Cross made an appeal and Kenyans are saying, no, we are not going to contribute to this. We are tired. The government needs to do its job. And I think slowly by slowly, people are starting to get tired of how things are happening.
And you notice we're not even talking about the Big Four agenda anymore.
Yes, anymore. It's not important.
We're reactive to the drought and the famine, and then comes impeach him, and then there's this that's being deleted. And it's down what, to 3 years to the next elections?
Yvonne, it's down to two people. President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President
But they had
William
lunch.
Ruto. They had lunch. They need to choose what they want to do. Do they want to fight, or do they want to deliver their second term mandate? Because the country moves as per how they behave. Look at what the lunch did. At least the next day we didn't have a single press conference. From politicians of both sides. Nobody was saying anything. There was some quiet. They set the pace. They'll choose whether this will be a very acrimonious term, or whether it will be a term that they can concentrate on doing a few things.
But it almost
and time
seems
is running out.
It is, but it seems like they have a different agenda. I mean, one wants to finish strong, another is thinking, long term. I mean, he has like his own medium-term plans, and another has also his own short-term, medium-term plans. Are they aligned now?
It is expected. You see, if you compare the Uhuru Kenyatta William Ruto relationship of the first term and this in the second term, you would be expecting too much if you thought they're going to continue with the same bromance of the first term in the second term. For the simple reason, the first term, they're also looking at the second term. So they
had to win together.
They needed to go together. So there was a lot of unison. But in the second term, their interests will differ because one is exiting, the other wants to continue. And there are quite a number of factors around there. So this relationship, they will have to continue with it with a lot of acrimony while at it. Every so often they will quarrel, and sometimes openly so, and then you will see them trying to make up. Somebody was comparing this lunch and the pictures and the so on what we saw. This relationship, when you hear celebs are fighting, a celeb couple is fighting, and they are all over the blogs. The following day you will see them going for lunch, holding hands. I hear it's called public display of affection. So this was one type of a public display of affection. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have resolved the outstanding issues, the issues that they had that caused the acrimony in the first place. So this lunch may have not solved the problems that are in Jubilee. What it probably would have, what it did is a paracetamol kind of a situation. Painkiller kidogo, but the
bigger problem, especially considering the state of the nation is
it's next week.
Linus?
I just wanted to comment on the scenario Francis has painted. It's very accurate in terms of how President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President are relating right now and going forward for the second term. There is a risk that it's setting a very bad precedent even for the future of politics, where you have a situation where the president and his running mate will only be in good terms for one term, and then they'll have to part ways the second term because their interests differ. Their interests are differing in one way here. William Ruto is concentrating on becoming president. His mind, every attention is going to 2022. This support you see from members of parliament, his events, nothing is about the present. Everything is about 2022. What does that do to Uhuru Kenyatta? It completely destabilizes his agenda, because this is your deputy president, and he is running a different agenda from yours. So it means you are going to have to compete with your deputy president in the second term. Now, looking at presidential systems, and America is always a good example to draw from, this doesn't happen. The deputy president should be the deputy president, which is help your boss to the last day. To the day you have that convention where the party makes you endorses you as the next candidate. Yes. That is not the case here. You have a candidate. You have a deputy president who is running 4 years early. 4 years early, he wants to be seen as presidential candidate for 2022, and so openly. So that makes the president struggle to show his head during his own
And when you talk about the president's struggle, 1 minute, Yvonne, it makes me think about his 4 agendas. As you said, they've been forgotten. In fact, next week during the State of the Nation address, I'd really like to hear what he has to say about the progress made so far as the 4 agendas are concerned. Because now the president, as you said, is very busy concentrating on
putting
something that
fires,
is... putting out fires left, right and center. When you hear about 3.7 million shillings being used to spend on buying a cow in Kisumu County, that worries me very much about where the country is going. When you hear women have been detained in hospitals because of a bill of 28,000 shillings, and someone has...
And we are piloting UHC.
And we're piloting UHC. So it makes me wonder about where our priorities are, what the president is thinking about his 4 agendas, and where we are going as a country.
Indeed.
Can you say the Kisumu people were cowed?
There you go with your puns again.
3.7 million shillings
for a cow. Okay.